Fine. This year is Maseches Basra Daf Kuf Samech Omud Beis. That's where we're holding in Kuf Samech Omud Beis. And we are in the middle of the page, but right now we are in the 5 minutes of the Akdama. Usually the Akdama is supposed to be a time to review the halachic side, Lamaisa, of what we learned yesterday. Today, that's exactly the chiddush, that there is no halacha l'maisa so far. Why? Because, as the Ritva says outright, a get mekusher is something that is already outdated. It does not apply anymore. And either to himself or somebody else, I saw many sources yesterday, don't remember. Somebody says that back then, the Kohanim were angrier, I guess, and there was a higher divorce rate, and that's why there was a takana. It's a bit mashma from the words of the Gemara, which we ended off with yesterday, and that is there was a city with Kohanim. That place where they established it originally was a place with Kohanim that would divorce the wives often, and then they can't go back, miskanim, the whole Kohen cannot remarry. Mashma hahu atra. We don't like to change halacha, but if the halacha already at the beginning, this is a rule, if halacha originally tells us that the takana is limited, then we can really say today it doesn't apply. Not that we are being reform over here. Elamai Chachamim themselves already put in that caveat, that clause, that this is not something l'netzach netzochim. That's my own idea here. The idea is not mine, but I apply it here. It's my own little chiddush here. Ahu atra, that place. Another example would be, this is supposed to be halacha, I'm giving halachic concepts here. Another concept is the fact that most women today would go to the street on Shabbos wearing jewelry, even in a place with no eruv. Some are machmirim. Why? There's an entire parak, and even the whole siman in Shulchan Aruch about women not wearing tachshitim in the street where there's no eruv, lest they come to remove the tachshit, remove the jewelry, piece of jewelry, and show to their friends. So some say, no, l'chatchila, that gzera was only for the poor women. It says that a rich woman would not do that. It's not classy. The rich woman wants the entire Ezras Noshim to exactly look at her, I don't know, $1 million, I don't know, billion carat diamond. Of course she wants, but she won't take it off. That's not classy. That's not, she'll show it to the others. She's the one. So they say today's women, that's already in the Rishonim. Tosfos already discusses why women do wear tachshitim in the street. And Tosfos says our women are like ashiros. Our women are considered like higher standard, either behave rich, are rich, better financial standard. And Lamaisa, we can hang on to the clause already in the Gemara and apply it later on and to say our women never were included in the Gzera. That's the way. Not that we're changing, we're taking the original rule and applying or not applying it to women today. Same thing with Shtar Mekusher. Yeah. Okay, so let's review quickly yesterday. We have 1 minute until the real shear starts. And that is, we're talking about get pashut. A get pashut is a get which either a get or any shtar. Any shtar is called a get. Yeah. You write your buyer, your seller a get. It doesn't mean you divorce him. It means you sold him a house. Yeah, the get is a shtar. Also, obviously, gitei noshim, but both of them, pashut means regular shtar, where are the signatures of the edim. We're going to discuss today where the signatures are. The signatures in the regular shtar are in the bottom of the page. If this shtar was a normal shtar, here I'm showing, this year will be Mirz Hashem on YouTube so people can see the pictures also, the movie, watch the movie. In the bottom of the page, there are Chasimos Eidim, because first of all, you write everything. Then you write in the bottom of the page, the Chasimos, that's a regular shtar. And how many Eidim do you need? 2 Eidim, and that's it, not 3, only 2, and it's a regular shtar, and finish the story. Now, okay, now we're officially starting this year. We'll continue the sentence after the official announcement. Yeah, Maseches Bava Basra, Daf Kuf Samech Omud Beis, Shirs Leilu Nishmas Avimoiri, Menachem Ben Akiva, Us Bas Sholem, and Sara Bas Moshe, and L'Refuas Shlomo Bar Rochel. Kuf Samech Omud Beis, we are in the line Hachi Miyasva Da'asayu. It's a little bit after the middle of the page. Yeah, Kuf Samech Omud Beis. Line starts with V'hachi. But before we continue, let's continue the summary. So what's a get mekusher? A get mekusher, we said, is like that. Watch and listen. Get mekusher is a get. Like any other get, the get mekusher has the first part, which is called a toref. Please take it's called a toref. The toref means the actual personal details, not private, personal details, his name, her name, or his name and the buyer's name, the date, v'chulei, and the actual, that's a toref, the main story. Toref advorim in Yeshivish language means the main part of it. The second part would be standard or general text, which means more general words, which many times apply to many people. I changed the word from standard to general because, as we'll see later, you can also write personal things here, but it's more standard. In other words, like Beksuba, it's more or less the same Lashon for everyone, but you can again tweak it here and there. And this is the second part of the star, and this is the up and down. That's a star. A get mekusher has now between one line and another. You have a like that. You have a tfira. You toifer. You tie the star. You fold it and you tie it. I did to the sellotape. And you have at least three compartments in the back, which according to the Rambam were like that. They were like a fan, he says, where you swat flies with. According to Rashbam, they were like square. I don't know how they did it, but they were like, they retained a square like a ches-shaped thing. According to the Ritva, and that's how I always imagined it, the Ritva says they were round. In other words, those little compartments over here, those loops were like a loop, like a round loop, But in any event, you have those three tfiros with the back. We keep calling it the back of the star. And yes, it did exist in the locha back then. And this is the front with the turf and with the turf and the tofis. Tofis is like the standard thing. I on purpose did not write where the edim are, because that's going to be a debate today in the star. Neget Mekushel, where are the edim signed? It's a big machloikes. Not very complicated, actually, but it's a big machlokas to Ameroim, and then it develops where the Edim sign. In any event, a get mekusher, according to some Rishonim, some of the text would also be hidden in the loops behind. And that's okay. In other words, the Dayan, if he's smart enough to recognize it's a get mekusher, he would tear it open and see everything. But that's a machlokas Rishonim, not so. Whatever the earth, the sky is not falling. That is what they're saying. Now, let's continue. We said that get mekusher, what's the idea? For Kohanim that cannot remarry, you want to have it, the get, very bureaucratic and slow motion on purpose. Okay. Kuf Samech Omud Beis. And the question is, Hateinach, the line I told you. Hateinach gitin. I understand why a get would be mekusher. Makes sense. But shtoros mai kalamema. The line starts with the word mai, and we are a bit below the middle of the page. Mai kalamema. Why should shtoros also be mekusher? Nobody's divorcing anybody. It's one guy selling his field or his house or his petrol station to the other. And so the Gemara, kedeshalot techalik ben gitin l'shtoros. You should not differentiate between Gitin and Shtaros, which means some Rishonim say that there's a reason why people would write to get Mekusher as a Shtar Mechira. I don't want to be pressurized into the sale, but still, that's what you want. But who says Chachomim allow such a thing? We see that the halachas of Shtaros are very, very rigid and very, very rigid. In other words, you can't, or like we said yesterday, you can't make a nice combination between Shtar Mekusher and Pashut, right? You can't have two Edim and Mekusher. But why? Chachamim said it either go one way or the other. It's not like a game you can play. Now, but still, why do Chachamim actually allow Shtar Mekusher for regular people to sell a field or buy a house? So as we just said, not to differentiate between them. Explains Tosfos. Tosfos says basically the following, you can see it yourself, the second Tosfos in the page. Tosfos basically says, I would say it in modern language, we want to create a culture of get Mekusher. What does that mean? We want this to be in fashion. We want people, even in the everyday life, to have Shtar that is Mekusher, meaning a regular shtar of sell and buy, which is very common every day. People buy and sell houses all the time, every day. And Mimela, once we have a get mekusha as a norm, also by Gitin, it will be normal for the Kohanim. In other words, if we don't have any gittin, any shtar mekusha, except for get of husband and wife, and all the other gittim, which are much more common, will be straight and poshut, then all of a sudden somebody will see get mekusha and say, what's that? I've never seen that. We'll see that even Rav was a bit surprised when he saw get mekusha later on. Rebbe even. It finished very early, this Takana. So Chachamim wanted to establish it by saying, we want other stars to be Mekusher, so a star Mekusher won't be the odd one out, and we'll sort of forget how it is and not do it anymore. Because they wanted Dafka to help the Kohanim are getting divorced. That's why one Gezerah one out to the other. Let other stars be Mekusher, so the real get Mekusher, when the real McCoy comes to end, when Mr. X divorces Mrs. Y, then Hagufa, we want the get Mekusher to be in fashion and common. That's the end of this. Now, Frag the Gemara, and here we start today's sugya. Heichan Edim Choismin, where do the Edim sign? In a get Mekusher, there is some kind of Kabbalah, some kind of norm, that a get Mekusher has the Edim signed in a different place. The question is where? Heichan Edim Chasumin. Machlokest. Rav Huna Omar Ben Kesher LeKesher. Rav Huna says between one Kesher and another, which means the top. In the Toref, between one kesher and another, I made those little X's, which are not really pretty. I was trying to show as if it's stitched, yeah? Between one stitched area and another, that's where the Edim sign, which let's take in face value, it means in the front, but in the top of the front. In the Toiref part, in the top, between one line and another, that's where the Edim are signing. Why, what, where, we'll see. Now, ורב ירמיה ברבא אומר, אחורי הכסב, וכנגד הכסב מבחוץ. רב ירמיה ברבא says, no, they are signed in the back. They're signed in the back, yeah, אחורי הכסב מבחוץ. They're signed in the back against the ksav. We'll see the maskana. In other words, wherever there's written text, the edim in the back, they sign wherever the text is, keneged that, in the same area, parallel to that, to show that they saw every written word in the shtar, to symbolize every word, like have a big stamp that kilo covers more or less the entire text. So don't tell me, yeah, let's say whether write original or copyright, yeah, on half the page, a smart guy would say that doesn't include the other page, the other half. So we have the signatures all the way in the back. Don't worry about Rav Yirmiyah Barabba, he'll get very nice treatment. It will explain exactly, Mitzvah Hashem, where are the signs in the back. But let's leave that for now. And now we're going to deal with Rav Huna. The question is about Rav Huna. Amar le Rabbi Chama le Rav Chizda. Rav Chama asked Rami Bar Chama, asked Rav Chizda, le Rav Huna, according to Rav Huna, the Omar ben Kesher le Kesher. According to Rav Huna, that says that the top, that where do they sign? In the top of the page, between one kesher and another, kasal kadaitin ben kesher lekesher migavoy. In the Havamina, we thought it means to say migavoy, that is to say from the back. Now the question is, what does the back mean? I'm with a Ritva. The Ritva says migavoy means inside. The Ritva believes, at least in the Havamina, that they signed inside that nice round loop, which by me is not round. Yeah, inside each compartment, each one of those, there is an aid sign, which makes sense. Each kesher, we said yesterday, is for another aid. 1, 2, 3. They signed inside, and then they're kosher. Obviously, yeah, they don't have to sign inside. That's impossible. They signed in 3 lines in between, and then we tied it, and their chasimas are hidden, mysterious. Who's going to open it? The Beis Din, which will accept it, or the loive, whatever. Yeah, the one if he's good enough to cooperate. That's where it is. Inside those back loops. That's inside. That's where they sign. That's a get mekusher. I don't know the reason why. Anyhow, we're going to reject it, but we do know one thing. We won't get mekusher to be complicated. Sometimes we want to complicate things. Immigration to certain countries is very, very bureaucratical. Of course, it could have made it easier in today's world. Yeah, you have to dafka call and not the email and not this. Why? I tried it, believe me. Yeah, why? Because they don't want too many people to come to the country. It's bureaucratic on purpose, even if you deserve conceptually to be a citizen because your grandfather was that or something, or your wife's grandmother. It's difficult. It's people being bureaucratic because they want to. Here too, lahavdil, of course, we want the edim to be hidden inside and written like that. We don't want the kohen to divorced her so quickly because she burned his omelet yesterday. So now ben kesher lekesher. So now the question is kasal kadaitin ben kesher lekesher migavoy. In the Havamina, the way we learned it originally in Besmedrash, we thought, as I just told you, ben kesher lekesher means inside those loops. Okay, if so, I have a question. I have a question on that. Veho, and listen to this. Harum kusher story time. There was a get mekusher the kosel kamei the Rebbe. Told you, Rebbe got a get mekusher. It came to his hands, I assume, in Beis Din. The Omer Rebbe, and Rebbe said surprisingly, he looked here and he looked there, and he said, "Ein zman bezeh." The time is not written. This goes very well with the Rishonim that say, not like I wrote, although I did follow other Rishonim, that get mekusher of Rebbe inside the loops, inside the hidden part in the back, inside the loops, you know what was written? Zman, meaning the time. And Rebbe saw the get and he said, "You look, this is Rebbe, there's not some kid looking, yeah?" And he sort of scrutinized it and he said, "There's no date, there's no time." Omar Lei, and then Omar Rabbi Shimon Barebi, Rabbi Shimon Barebi told Rebbe, Shema ben Kshorov Muvla, maybe the date is Muvla, is hidden and swallowed, which means really hidden, ensconced between Ben Kshorov, between the Kshorim, which again with the Rito means inside over here. Palye, they open it up. They open up the Chazye, and he saw the Chasimas Eidim. Oh, the Chasimas. Sorry, the time. Oops, missed it. The time. He saw the time written in that hidden part. That was that style of Get Megusha. The Im Isa. Now, if you are right, if you Rav Huna are right, that the Eidim also are in those compartments in the back that are completely hidden unless you open. Yeah. The Im Isa. If that's true. Ein zman bezeh ve'ein edim bezeh mibo ilei. Mibo, he should have said there is no time written and there are no edim. Rebbe is not saying, Rebbe is talking halachically. Obviously, very, very, very important factor, component in the star are edim. If you want to tell me that edim are hidden in those loops and are not visible to the naked eye, so to speak, unless you open the star, unless you tear it open, if so, he should have said that the edim are missing, because you, Ravuna, you claim that the edim are hidden inside. And that's the most important part of the star in a way, yeah? Amarle. So now we are revisiting, we're re-explaining Rav Huna, and we say, that was a Havamina. You yourself said it's a Havamina. Thank you. That's not true. It's not what Rav Huna meant. Mi sovas, do you really think, sovat, at sover, do you really think, ben kesher lekesher migavoy? Do you think that it was written inside the loops, over there inside? No. Ben kesher lekesher me'abroi. It's written, ben kesher lekesher me'abroi, on the outside. The question is, what does outside mean? Machlokes rishonim, according to the Rashbam, it's written, the outside means, like we'd call in English, the facade, the front part, the open part, meaning the part where everything's written. And the written over here, the written between different chasimos, you have edim, sort of, merged inside in the original text of the top part of the page. According to the Ritva and others, and that's what I always knew, whatever, it's in the back. They're signed me'abroi, outside, meaning not inside the loops, but outside on the back of those loops, on the back of those folds, which have maslokas shani in the back of the squares, but kids are in the back of those three funny compartments that are unique for Get Mekusha, that's where the edim are in the back. But both opinions, I'll be with you a second, both opinions say, according to, not both opinions, both Havamina and Maskana, I would say, we always stick to Rav Huna that edim are in the top. The edim are not in the bottom of the page. The edim are in the top of the page together with the text, either the front or the back. And that, my friend, is an invitation to danger of forgery. And from now on, the Gemara is going to give us all kinds of tactics and mechanism. How do we avoid the gittin? Avoid gittin is also good. How do we avoid? Go to the counselor, buy her flowers for her birthday, and what happens then? We say that the star is the edim are in the top. Says the Meiri, Chachamim never would establish a star that's a door, so to speak, through which forgers can come. We want the star to be as forgery-proof as possible. And that's going to be the next question. I'm now open to one round of questions from anyone. before we continue, I'm stopping myself because we're continuing a new issue, and I had homework to do yesterday, and also to do with Star. Jeffrey reminded me of the Indian because he said the star has to be kept for a long time. So now again, like I'm getting a bit tangential over here. Yesterday, one of the sources from the Torah Novi, which are really a smachta, one of the sources for getting kosher was Yirmiyahu's story that he himself took a sefer get, which means a star mikna, and so on and so forth. I asked what was the story. Basically, both sources of Yirmiyahu about taking a star and having edim and making it serious and keeping it in a clean, some kind of receptacle, they're both in the same parak. In both cases, Yirmiyahu tries to convince people who are about to live Eretz Yisrael, he said, you're going to live Eretz Yisrael, but you will come back. He was encouraging that they will come back, and therefore, for sure, they should sell their lands to other Jews maybe that survived there, or to Goyim, whoever, maybe so the first Galus of the Yidden, not the second one, that could well be, other Yidden still stayed behind. Sell your karka, but make sure that you have a good star, so when you come back, your star will be with you to prove the point that you actually, not sell, buy the karka, buy the karka and have a star to prove to you that this is really your land. You buy a karka, you're about to go to Chutz La'aretz, make sure the document is with you. Somebody buys a land in Yerushalayim. He's not going to live there. He lives in LA and owns an apartment in Yerushalayim. That's very, very common, right? Of course, he wants to make sure the land is his. He doesn't want to have funny stories with the tabu. He makes sure very, very well this is under his name, even more than other people, right? Squatter stories. What were the two stories? One story is Yirmiyahu telling the people to do so. The other story is very simple. He himself did it show and tell. He himself actually bought a piece of land from his cousin Hanamel. Hanamel is cousin, but it's the same thing. With all the details, he said, look, I'm doing it myself. Even I'm buying. Follow me. Do as I do. That was the other story. That's all. I'm just paying my debt now. Okay? Okay, now comes the question of the Gemara. As you ask yourself, what about forgery? So now, frag the Gemara. V'neichush Dilma, where before the end of the page, the line starts with the word Dilma. What does Dilma mean?
Perhaps.
Maybe, perhaps. Dilma Zief, maybe the guy is a forger, the guy is false, the guy is a shakran gomor. Because of my debai, he writes whatever he wants, he writes whatever it feels like. V'chasim misahadi, and then the Eidim are signing, which means that, this guy, the Eidim, where they're written, they are written here in the top of the page, either here, according to Rashbam, or in the back, they're written on top of the page. Here, he can fantasize and write whatever he wants. He can write, all the above is true if he gives me an extra million. The entire, another little clause, or he gives me a whole ice cream parlor for free for life. He can write this. And Eidim are in the top. As Alan said, usually, and in a regular star, by the way, like today's stars, you obviously the signature is in the bottom, and we all know from legal documents you always have to sign your initials, at least in Israel, in the bottom of the page every time. Why the bottom? To show everything that's up here. I've seen it all, and I'm signing down here. You're missing Kivyachol, Ravuna, the Chayra, missing a very key ingredient here. How can you have the Eidim sign in the top, and here I have a whole bunch of text here. I can write Kiyada as my fertile imagination wants, all that noim, and there are no Eidim here. They saw this, the main part, which makes sense, and that's a nice Eid, very kosher Eidim to sign here, and then I write whatever I want. How could Ravuna allow such a thing to happen? Answers the Gemara, Dichtiv Bey Sharir V'Kayam. It says, at the end of the text of the top, let's look at part A, part B. Part A in the top, at the end of that part, it says V'Hakol Sharir V'Kayam, like in today's Ketubos, which means Hakol Sharir V'Kayam means everything is strong and existing, and it's there set in stone. I speak English, but I don't speak legalese. I don't know how you say it in English, but the idea is this is the end of the document, dead end, that's it, end of story. Nothing after that can ever be changed. So if it says here, Hakol Shav V'Kayom, and then even though there's a text over here, that's it. Hakol Shav V'Kayom means everything that's here cannot be changed. Maybe you can add some standard text. We all love each other and, I don't know, other things. But Lemaisa, if you wrote here, Hakol Shav V'Kayom, that means anything past that cannot change what's before. That's what it means. Hakol shal v'kaim. That's it, set in stone. And the edim are here, so I cannot change everything written down there because that's past the kol shal v'kaim. Everything after kol shal v'kaim cannot change. A kol shal v'kaim means end of story, end of line. No other clauses can change. That's a beautiful solution, and that's why you have it in the top because we like to be connected to the mekusha, that whole mekusha mystique with the edim there. Hakol shal v'kaim is written here at the end of the top part of the first part, and then afterwards, no, you cannot change and write whatever you want. That this is in condition that it gets me ice cream parlor every day. So now, and by the way, that's today's ksubas, as I said. The only star I think that a person sees is not a big wheeler dealer and doesn't get divorced. Which star do we all see at least once in our lives if we're married? Ksuba. Ksuba is like that, right? The beginning is the names of the chasam kala, personal conditions. Then there's a standard text, and then there's chasimas at the end because it's a regular star, and it says vehakol shalil v'kayim, and then chasimas. Frag the Gemara now gets very tough. The Gemara now gets into the hand of the forger very well. Frag the Gemara v'nechush. What's the nechush? Let us be concerned. Deal makos of my deboy. 4 lines from the bottom. Maybe he'll write whatever he wants. V'adal kosiv shor v'kayim achrina. Maybe he'll write 2 shor v'kayims. In other words, maybe we'll write the kol shor v'kayim over here. The edim said, oh, that's a nice shor v'kayim. Okay, yeah, we sign it. Such a nice looking guy. And then we'll write again all kinds of shtuyot, and then write the kol shor v'kayim again. Don't laugh, because this is what we do today. If the edim are written in the bottom, we can do that. A kol shor v'kayim means it's the end of one clause. The end of one part of the shtar, we can have a few kol shor v'kayims. But here, it's if the edim are written in the bottom, that's okay. You can write 10 times the kol shor v'kayim. But if the edim are in the top, so we assume that what they saw is just here. Let's say, yeah. So you can write the kol shor v'kayim. They saw it. Again, you write a whole bunch of text, and again a kol shor v'kayim. So again, you can lie. You can lie and say these were 2 kol shor v'kayims. First section, then second section, and it's not outsmarting the first part. It's just each one is sharir. Each one is choshev by itself. This is show that this is the name and his name, and this is the land, and here shor v'kayim about the conditions. Zok the Gemara, and you can lie because they only saw the first part, not the second part, because they're signed in the top. The problem is that they're signed in the top, so they didn't see what's in the bottom. Zok the Gemara, no, very, very easy solution. Chachamim just threw it in the garbage. Chad shor v'kayim kasvinan. We write shor v'kayim once. Trei shor v'kayim loy kasvinan. Very, very simple. Eshtar Mekusha, at least, now it's Machlokas Rishonim. But everyone agrees, Eshtar Mekusha, a get Mekusha that has more than 1 shor v'kayim is possible. Bam, 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 bam. If you go to the loive and the loive is not stupid, or the moicher, or the wife, or the whoever, and you give them that shtar, and it says twice shor v'kayim, any person dealing with shtar should be in touch with Beis Din, or today would be like a lawyer, right? And every budding Toin Rabbani, or every dayan would say, 2 shor v'kayim, garbage. It's just not a good start. So you can't, that's it. They just close the door for that option of forgery. Yeah, that's good. Pasha. Yeah, the Seder. No. Okay, fine. Now comes a new question. Yes, let's hear another round of questions. Or if it's not urgent, I prefer continuing the next case, and then you, okay? Because I just want to get into the shvung of things. Frag the Gemara, another question. Shvung, another swing of things. Frag the Gemara, v'leichush dilma machikle l'shor v'kayim. Maybe he would erase the shor v'kayim. Maybe really he wrote shor v'kayim here. Well, there was 1 shor v'kayim, not 2, and the Edim signed a very nice kosher-looking star, and everything was nice, and that was what? And he wrote shor v'kayim. Then he added his own text, blah, 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 blah. This, the above is only true if he calls me king of the world, makes me the president, yeah, okay. And then again he wrote shor v'kayim. 2 shor v'kayim's apostle, he's not stupid, he'll erase it. He'll rub off, he'll erase the cloth. He will erase the dioi from the cloth. So maybe that is a problem. Yeah. So now, by the boy, what if Adal Kosav Shor v'kayim? You'll again write Shor v'kayim again. Zog the Gemara, no. That again is impossible. We already managed to think about it and outsmart that too. As the Gemara says, Ha'omar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says the follows, and this really reminded me of checks today. We'll see, this is very negative to today. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Tluya mikuyemes keshera. Look at that, that's tluya. Tluya means, you see the word general here? Tluya means, let's say there's a word in the shtar that he forgot, the Sefer forgot to mention, Her name is Ilana Gavriela Michaela, and he forgot the Michaela. I don't know if in the get it works yet, and he wrote Michaela like in the top, above, like we do with this V-shaped thing, yeah? So now, is that kosher? Only with a special kiyum. You need special chasimos in the bottom or around here to say, we've seen that word too, and we're made that this is a right word. Which reminds me of the checks today. You wrote 700, you write your initials, at least in Israel, you write your initials next to that erased, corrected version. Very, very similar. And that's okay, that's kosher. However, thank you for patience, me. However, mocha, Pasul. If he erased anything or almost anything, it's pasul. Even if the mechika, because mechika is much more dangerous, we don't know who played around with it, who basically, right, played around and managed it and tried to control the story in a very funny way, to manipulate it. And therefore, if there's anything machuk, anything that you can see was erased and the new text is written on the top, you don't see it's a fresh looking cloth. You see something erased, even if it's mekuyam and the two Edom are signing on the side, yeah, we've seen the mechika, that's not good, maybe forged it. It's too tempting to be, too likely to be forgery. Now, and therefore, there is no chashash of him writing a kol shor v'kaim in the top and then erasing it, because we would puzzle it, we disqualified it, it's just not going to work. Zog the Gemara, another two conditions about when do we say that mechika is pasul. They only said mechak is pasul, ela b'mokim shor v'kaim. In the place where shor v'kayim would be relevant. In other words, let's say, I'll give you an example without even looking in the star that I created. Let's say it says, Reuven ben Shimon sells his land to, and then there is something erased. Can you write the words Hakol Shor V'Kayim there? No. Again, I'm selling my land to Hakol Shor V'Kayim. In other words, the only psul is if there's a piece that's erased and is potentially a place where Hakol Shor V'Kayim could have been written. At the end of a paragraph, at the end of two paragraphs, at the end of something that makes sense, that's coherent, that makes sense to be the end, if Hakol Shor V'Kayim could have been the original text, and all of a sudden it says, I don't know, we love Earth. It says something else there instead of where it could have been a kol shor v'kayim, then we say, hey, mister, sorry. A potential kol shor v'kayim that was potentially played around with, meddled with, maybe that's the word, yeah? So then that is possible forever, and that's it, no such star. The kashil shor v'kayim, and also the amount of space that, the space where hakol shor v'kayim could have been written, but not less. Let's say the mechika is so small, you can't try to go shor v'kayim over there. Yeah? The minimum amount to be possible is, you see the handwriting of the sofer, and he says, if you could have written kol shor v'kayim, 3 words, and that part is erased in a place, an amount of text that kol shor v'kayim could have been written, the finished star here potentially, maybe what's happening afterwards is his own fertile imagination and shkarim and forgery, that we don't accept, and here, we close the door for forgery. Yes, what is your beautiful question? The Rishonim unanimously say, many Rishonim say, and I saw Rishonim yesterday, Baruch Hashem, the Rishonim say, what happens if there's more? Let's say the part that's erased is much more than a kol shor v'kayim, 2 lines erased. They all say it's possible. Why? Let's say there are 2, 3 choshev fat lines, and it's all erased and rewritten, so it's not a kol shor v'kayim. No, it's much more. The Rishonim say, no. Forgers are smart. They do it on purpose. Maybe he erased the kol shor v'kayim, and he erased along with it many other things in order to tell Beis Din, ma pitom, if it was a kol shor v'kayim, it wouldn't have been so big, but it could be. A kol shor v'kayim is smaller than that big erased part, so it could be included there. B'chlal masai moneh. 100 is included in the 200. So if it's a big part that's erased, Hakol Shor V'Kayim could have been part of it, and he on purpose erased more stuff to conceal it, to make like a camouflage, right? A good liar sticks his lie with other facts all around, right? It doesn't stick out. Same thing over here. So, but if it's less than a Kol Shor V'Kayim, it's physically impossible that a Kol Shor V'Kayim was written there. And then it's kosher. So again, the minimum amount of space that's erased is where Hakol Shavakayim could have been written, and also in a place where Hakol Shavakayim would have made sense. Then Pasul. So again, Chachamim Stark are closing the door and are not enabling all kinds of shakonim and forgers to do what they do. Of course, stars can still be forged, and we saw, but we do our best, you know. Up until recently, before the biometric and the holograms and all that, people would forge the passports. Today it's impossible. Yeah, somebody told me that he went to a guy, whatever, whole story. Today I don't think it's shaykh anywhere in the Western world, but yeah, people would forge anything. You do what you can to avoid the forgery, and you trust Hashem. Now in Kuf Samachalef Amud Aleph, Kasa. And now we're done with Reb Zera, which explained that the Eidim, where's my star? Yeah, can be without it. Yeah, we said, Reb Zera said that this is the, Ravuna, excuse me. Ravuna said that the Eidim are in the top, and now we're going to deal with the opinion of Birmi Bar Abba. Birmi Bar Abba said that they're written in the back against the text. Question is, what do you mean facing the text? What, which, what, how, where, who, da, 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 da. Frag the Gemara. The Gemara in the Havamina, and I'm following the Ritva here. I'm a big Ritva fan again. The Ritva in the Havamina says as follows. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba doesn't have the same problem with Chor of Ravuna, because he says in the Havamina that the Eidim are written, look, the signatures of the Eidim, all three of them, are written either parallel or in one line, one following the other, from the top of the page all the way to the bottom of the page. It's actually very good here that you can see the writing from the other side. Yeah? From the top of the page, Reuven ben Shimon Eid, Shimon ben Levi Eid, Kalmanovich ben Tutu Eid, yeah? And it goes from the top till the bottom, okay? Now, okay, Frag the Gemara, now we have a question. Third line, Kuf Samachalef al Mudalef. If he says that it's in the back and it's facing the same area, parallel area, keneged the ksav from the outside, there's a concern. Leichush, we should be concerned. Dil makosiv migavoy ma'ideboy. Yeah, like Alan said, he may write in the front whatever he wants. In the bottom of the page, he's going to add all kinds of conditions and stories that are good for him and not for the other guy. And now these Eidim, now in case that their names are not very, very Ashkenazi long names, could very well be that they'll start here and not finish, and maybe you'll actually make sure that their Eidus does not finish at the bottom of the page, it finishes halfway through. The whole thought of the Eidim signing against the text is to show they've seen the text. Now, maybe here there's an open area, there's an empty area, and the Eidim really signed till the middle, and then he added here, after the Eidim done in the middle of the page in the back, him in the front of the page added a lot of Cholent and Kishkas, Matamim, he added his own thing. Now, listen, we have to skip a line. The Omar, skip one line down because that's what the Bach says. The Omar, no, you think, you know why I have an empty space, Alan? You spoke about a line. A line doesn't work in halacha as far as I know. Maybe we'll see later. You know I have an empty space, in other words, of the Eidim. You know why my Eidim don't cover the entire star? You know why the three Eidim are only reaching not the bottom of the page, but reach all the way, they don't reach all the way to the end, which seems suspicious. I'll tell you why. L'rabus be'edim u'de'avdi. I wanted my star to be very mehuder. I want to have 4 Eidim. 3 is minimum. I really invited Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Don, and Naphtali, and Gad, and Asher, and really invite, but only 3 came. Only 3 came to my help, and there's an empty space. Really, I wrote everything originally all the way to the bottom. They really, I promise you, Beis Din, they saw the entire text, including the ice cream parlor in the bottom, everything. You know why only 3 are written over here? Because I wanted more Eidim. I left space here, and the 4th Eid did not cooperate. His wife had corona. That's it. Didn't come. That's all. So why? So there's a chashash. Again, according to Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, what's going on? Answers the Gemara, and this is according to the rest of everything I'm telling you. You think the Eidim sign the way it makes sense from the top to the bottom in an orderly fashion? You think that's how we do it? No. We outsmart the chakran. No. We Eidim imata lemala chasimi. The Eidim start the signatures from the bottom to the top, and that is okay. Why? The chash is the bottom. Yeah. The chash is, this is more like Yeah, this is the beginning of the text. And the shaila is, did you add anything afterwards? Addendum, yeah? Maybe afterwards you added Kiyada Dimian, whatever you wanted. But if the Edim start over here, you know that they read the bottom. If they read the bottom, they also wrote the beginning. Yeah, you can't add the beginning of a star. You can't add the second half. You can't say, and I also want an ice cream parlor, and then what's the beginning of the star? Obviously, if they read the end of the star, they read the beginning. So if they're signed starting from the bottom, they start from the bottom. Even if they don't reach all the way to the top of the page, that's okay. Because obviously, it's like they would have signed in the bottom here, which is a normal star even by going. When they start in the bottom, that shows they've read everything in the front, started signing from the bottom. That's a cloud. Where they signed shows that they read. That's how Edim are guided to do, instructed. So they start at the bottom, do. And even if they're not, the signatures are empty space over here, so what? Yeah.
You can write something from the top.
No, I just explain why not. Explain why not. Unless it's Mechika, and Mechika we don't believe in. No.
There was never anything ever written.
I just explained why. So let me explain to you, no, I'll tell you why. What you're saying is the beginning of the star is a more crucial part. Reuven and Shimon are selling a land. Reuven is marrying Leah and writes a ksuba, v'chule. You're suggesting that there was nothing in the top and the Edim only signed the second half? There's no such thing. Edim would never sign something that starts like, and we decided to follow through, and we decided to also add ice cream parlors and also this and that. These are conditions. It is the second part. Somebody gives you a document, you as a very intelligent, good person, you wouldn't sign on something that clearly seems as the second half of something that never started. Zicher not. Right? This is like the second chapter. And Mary went to the field. Mashma, something happened before. And the morning after, something happened. Meaning what? Obviously, there's a beginning. You can't say that they saw the end and not the beginning. These are not Edim, these are Shoitim Gemurim. Right? Zicher, 1 second. And therefore, if they sign in the bottom, we see, they saw all the way to the bottom. They start signing from the bottom, climbing up to the top. Even if they didn't reach the top. No, he cannot start the first part after, he can start the first part after the second, not the Edim. Edim would not sign a second half of anything, unless they're showing Gemurim or Tipshim, and then you can probably want a verification.
But let's say...
So he's asking, maybe left an empty space. Even if you left an empty space, there's a standard nusach for shtaris, which Rishonim keep quoting here and there. The standard nusach starts a certain way. So every normal ed, it's nothing to do with space. He has to know that he has to see the official standard beginning of a star. There's a standard way. You can't add from before. Let's say every story has to start the same first chapter. Let's say somebody wants to forge a Chumash. Some reform wants to forge Chumash. So before Bereshit is going to add more stuff. Of course you're not going to believe that that's Chumash. That's what you're suggesting, I'm sorry to say. Yes. Yes, you are. Because you're saying it's true that because there's a stand. Let's say the star starts in the middle and he very smart. In the top, he left it empty, and then he'll add. What do you mean he'll add? You can't add before the beginning. There's a standard way of beginning, and the Edim saw it. He can't say, unless he says everything in this get is only true if so and so, and I don't think he can do it. You just can't. Zvi suggested maybe he added text in the back of the page, and my answer is in the back of the page there was no text except for Chasimos, and we're friends again. Now, continues the Gemara. Thank you for the question. Let's continue for now. Frankly, Gemara, now another problem. V'leichush, now, Dilma, Mitramia. Line starts with Mitramia, middle of the page. Maybe the very last line of the real star, which was kosher and not forged, maybe the last line, Mitramia Re'usei, maybe there's a Re'uta. Maybe there's a condition, real condition, which was written between the two of them, which is not good for one side. For the star holder, yeah, let's say the Malve, whatever, Nagid, the Koine, there's at the end, there's this clause which he twisted my arm to do, and I agreed, but that line is really bad for me. He really did say, in condition of extra $1 million. I don't like that last line. You know what I can do? Maybe the Reusa, the bad line for him, is found B'shita Achroina, in the last line. The guy is Leila Shita Achroina, and he's going to cut, how easy, physically with scissors, is going to cut, with a knife, is going to cut the last line. Now, there's a problem, because in the last line here, it starts saying here vertically, Reuven ben Shimon, Yoshaphat ben Prinzel, yeah? So, he's going to erase the word Reuven, and the guys, Reuven Ba'adei, yes, together in the front, it says, give me another million. In the back, in the very bottom, it says, and there are no gaps, it sounds like, by the way. From the Gemara, it sounds like there are no gaps. All the way to the bottom, the very last line, it says another million. And here it says Reuven, because that's how it starts going. Reuven ben Yaakov, yeah? Going up on the screen. Reuven. So he's going to cut the word Reuven. All you're going to see is what? How do they sign in everywhere? Reuven ben Yaakov, Eid. So all you're going to see is ben Yaakov, and it will still be kosher. Still a problem. Yeah, the guys Reuven Ba'adei. Ba'adei means with it on the other side. What is going to cut the word Reuven? V'miskasha ben Yaakov Ed, and if the remaining text will be ben Yaakov Ed, it will be kosher as an edus, and that will be a problem. That's good forgery for you. Detnan, it says in the Mishnah in Gittin, ben ish ploini ed kosher. Yeah, it says ben ish ploini. If I just write my father's in love shalom ben Menachem, if I write ben Menachem taichtal ed, that's good. Red Menachem, it's good enough without my first name. And if so, it's an issue. It's a problem. Why aren't you concerned about that? Says the Gemara, no. Dichtiv Reuven ben, no. The ed did not be ed kosher. Says the Gemara, no. Dichtiv Reuven ben Bechad Doro, Yaakov Eid Iluye, which means the words Reuven ben are not written completely vertically. It says Reuven ben in one horizontal line, maybe some diagonal, but horizontal, and Yaakov on top. Reuven ben Yaakov. That's how they did it. That's how Luchari should do it in order to avoid the forgery. And therefore, if you cut the word Reuven, you'll cut Reuven ben. And the only word you'll have remaining will be Yaakov Ed. And that will be for sure a bed, right? Because it's not Yaakov, it's Reuven. Frag the Gemara, we're still concerned. This is Lahavdil KGB. V'leichush dilma geisler Reuven ben. Maybe you'll cut the last line, the nasty line that says, given the money right now, a million. And in the back, what's cut along with it? Reuven ben. What's going to remain? Miskasha be Yaakov Ed. Maybe really the last word will be Yaakov Ed. And that will be kosher enough. Ditnan, it says in the Mishnah, Ish Ploni Ed kosher. Yeah, it says Yaakov Ed, and that would be kosher enough without the word so-and-so, Ben so-and-so. Yaakov Ed, just the first name. So, Mimela, now this is a big question. Yeah, the Mishnah in Gittin, Ish Ploni Ed kosher. I don't know. We'll see the halacha tomorrow. Reuven Eid kosher without his father's name. He's a ger, I don't know what, doesn't want to mention his father's name, and that's kosher enough. Yeah, and Mimela, maybe people will think that Yaakov is the one who wrote it, and that will be the chashash. Reuven ben is erased, Yaakov Eid will remain, and that would be a problem. People will say, okay, Yaakov is the one who signed. Wait for the question. The answer is the Gemara, the Loksiv Eid. No, the word Eid is not written. If it just says Yaakov, that's not. We're talking about Metzias where the word Ed is not written, just Yaakov alone, no last name, Ben so-and-so, and no Ed, that's ready to street-like. That's Rechovi, that's not a good chasima. Now, my question, which is Tosa's question, and no other Rishon that I've seen, a big question, how can it be Choshesh? How can you think that really the one who signed is Reuven, right? Not Yaakov. The Gemara is suggesting maybe Reuven Ben will be erased, Yaakov Ed will stay, right? If it is today, and people will think, okay, Yaakov signed it, but you have to verify. As the Gemara is going to say in the next answer, I don't know the answer. I looked in Medrash with Tosa's answer, I don't get clear bichlal, I have to admit, online. Yeah, but that's what the Gemara suggests. Now the Gemara is going to say what I said, Viboy Seima, or another simple answer, verification. This is not a jungle over here. La'olam dichsav Eid. Really, he wrote Yaakov Ed. He wrote Reuven ben Yaakov Ed, yeah? He erased Reuven ben, because he didn't erase, he cut off the last line, says Reuven ben. It says Yaakov Ed. Now you think that maybe he'll come to Beis and say, yeah, Yaakov was my Ed. Ma pitom. The Adinan ba, we know, the Chasimas Yoda, love the Yaakovu. We know that this Chasima, we recognize the handwriting because this is all verified. This is not a jungle here. And we know that this is the handwriting of who? Of Reuven and not Yaakov. Yeah, people recognize. People would never, we know who Reuven and Yaakov are, let's say. Or says, the Rashbam says, we know that there's nobody by the name of Yaakov in that town, Bichlal. not even a chashash of somebody called Yaakov. That's what the Rashbam says. So if you just say with the text Yaakov Ed, you're making fun of yourself because we know Yaakov is not the Ed. It's not her handwriting, or we know there's no such guy around. And Mimeilah, there's no chashash of cutting the last piece. Because the last piece says Reuven Ben, on purpose we do it. If you cut the Reuven together with the Ben. You throw the baby with the water. Now it says Yaakov Ed. Either we don't write Ed, or Yaakov alone, Yaakov Ed. We know it's not Yaakov. It's not verified as Yaakov. No two Edim will come to verify that this is the signature of Yaakov Rabinovich. We know it's Reuven Rabinovich, his son. Don't worry, the Gemara will have many more questions here. Maybe this, maybe that. We're going into the mindset of the Rasha, of the Zaifan, of the forger. But now we have to stop because it's time. Thank you very, very much for being with me. Yes, time for a question. Another round.